Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Today we have a phenomenal guest called Sharon Livermore, who I've known for a long time. She's the founder of a recruitment firm in Cambridge called Kameo Recruitment. She's also the founder of Domestic Abuse Education, which has a CPD accredited course. She is also an expert, a speaker, and a thought leader on the subject. She's been featured in The Guardian, BBC. She's worked with Channel 4, some really incredible people. She's also a finalist for Businesswoman and Business Person of the Year and New Business of the Year, and creator of Sharon's Policy, which aims to educate the masses on domestic abuse and the effects of it. Sharon, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, you've been busy. You're doing lots of things.
Yeah.
I almost don't know where to start with you because your LinkedIn post is just constantly on fire. But you've done some incredible things. I think where I'd like to understand is how it all started for you in terms of you were working at a recruitment firm yourself, weren't you?
I was indeed, yeah.
Where did the kind of inspiration come from for you to kind of start your own business and you know, initiate all the success that you've been seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I get asked it quite a lot, to be honest. So mine came down to personal experience. So as you said, I was working in recruitment for another business. And then 7 years ago, I came extremely close to losing my life at the hands of domestic abuse. So for me, at that point, my life changed completely. I think you appreciate things more. I almost had that kind of survivor's guilt of getting through this that other people potentially don't get through and obviously don't have their life anymore. So for me, it was a real turning point. Once I rebuilt my life personally, I realised that I really wanted to make a difference in the world of domestic abuse by speaking to businesses, putting on seminars, etc. But I also realised at that point that I needed a platform to do it. And as you can imagine, going to a recruitment company and saying, I'm a recruiter at heart, that's what I do, but can you give me money to put on a seminar around domestic abuse? Businesses would say, well no, it's not recruitment. Yeah. So at that point, I knew I needed to set up my own business in recruitment to use as that platform to kind of spearhead the campaign for domestic abuse.
Interesting.
And yeah, so it was personal experience that kind of, it gave me the courage to do it. And it was a challenge, of course it was. It's always a challenge when you set up a business. But for me, having that motivation personally to know that I needed to continue to do the recruitment to be able to fund initially the domestic abuse work that I was doing was my driver to keep going, especially at the start of a new business, as we all know, like I say, it's very challenging at times.
So it was a major kind of turning point for you where you're like, this isn't what I want to do and I want to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still do recruitment today, as you know. I love recruitment. It's for me, it's helping people. And that's why I love recruitment, because every day I'm helping somebody in one form or another. But the domestic abuse side for me was really, it was my passion. And like I say, I am so lucky to have my voice, and I'm fortunate enough that I have the confidence to use it. So it was almost, how can I make a difference with what I've got and also the network that I'm in? So obviously being in the workplace, in the commercial world, my network is businesses. So for me, it just aligned, and I just thought, what do I need to do? You know, what do businesses need to know? And that's where my journey started. And it was a case of, okay, businesses need to know about domestic abuse, but I had to do it under the Kameo recruitment banner initially, and while I was obviously getting that off the ground as well. So effectively, I was getting two businesses off the ground at the same time, although one was under the same banner as the other.
Okay, amazing. What was that initial journey like for you? Like walking away from kind of a steady job to this very kind of risky, but you were very passionate about it. What were kind of the first steps that you took to make sure that was going to head in the direction you wanted it to?
It was scary, I'm not going to lie, at the start. I remember the first day going into the one-person office on my own and sitting there with a phone and a laptop thinking...
I remember that office.
Yeah, you remember. I was like, what have I done? And it was like, okay, this is really scary. But I think as a person, I'm quite processy anyway, and
Okay.
I'm quite factual. So I kind of looked at it rather than going, this is a huge challenge. This is a weekly challenge. So each week I set myself goals and challenges to overcome rather than going, okay, I need to earn this amount of money by this point, because I would have absolutely at that point gone, can I do this? So by breaking it down into smaller challenges, it just enabled me to kind of process it mentally as well. And then over
Okay.
time, obviously, those small challenges, you make them a bit bigger. And then you have your dreams and your aspirations of, I want an employee to come and work for me. And then I want a bigger office and things like that. But it's not easy, but I think it's the resilience as well of the times when it doesn't go your way, because we all know in recruitment it doesn't always go your way. So
Absolutely.
and the same as in any job, really. It doesn't, you have to find that inner fight to keep going.
So you're in this one man band office,
Yeah.
and you've got a phone and a computer and a
Yeah.
very small coffee table, which I remember having coffee at.
Very
And
small coffee table. Yeah.
yeah. You were talking about like and I think this is a big key to your success, by the way, is like putting together those achievable objectives and then
Yeah.
developing those and growing. Can you share what maybe some of those objectives were on like day 1 to day 7? Like, what
Yeah.
did you write them down as well?
Yeah, I'm a very old fashioned person. I love technology, but I also love a pen and paper. So
Me
um,
too.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I did write down the things that I wanted to achieve, and in the first week, it was literally going out to clients to visit them. So I'd ordered cupcakes from my cupcake lady. She is fantastic, Thornton's Delights. She still makes cupcakes to this day for us. But that was where it came from. It was like, what can I do that's different? Let's get cupcakes. Let's get a logo on that cupcake and get a flyer, a basic flyer that was just literally one flyer, and deliver them to as many companies as I can in that first week. And obviously I was up against time constraints because cakes go off, don't they? So
That's
and
true.
spent a lot of money on those cakes. So it was because I put that into action, I had to do it. So it was a case
Wow.
of getting out there and literally just driving around in my car, dropping off a cake and a flyer, introducing myself to people. And I think at that point, I think the first day of doing that, I was like, are people going to respond well to me? Because I'm standing there as a person going, I've just set up this business. And people could go, well, actually, we want people that are more established. But it was the end of that first week that I realised, actually, no, people don't mind. They want to help people. People like helping people.
Mm,
And I built up I have a solid network of people around me now, but I built up that network even more because people wanted to give me an opportunity, because I don't know whether it's that thing where you see someone doing something, you think, oh, okay, that's a really good thing to do. I wish I could do that, or something similar, that people go, well, let me help you. So I was really
mm,
fortunate, very fortunate in the first, I would say, 2 months. Because obviously being on my own at that point, the overheads were low. So I
of
just
course.
needed to get that momentum going, which, yeah, it did happen quite quickly for me. But it wasn't without hard work and a lot of cake dropping to people. That's all I'm going to say.
And I'm sure they're all the better for it. Uh,
Absolutely. I mean, you can't go wrong with cake, right?
yeah, I know. Where's my cake, Sharon? I'd
Oh,
love for you
I
to
knew I
come
was
around.
going to ask that. I will bring you some cake. Don't you worry.
Yes. Um, so when you're turning up to these offices,
Yeah.
is this like cold calling, or is this you so
Well,
you
some of them I guess I knew from over the years,
okay?
but everywhere I went, it wasn't a case of I know that company there. It was a case of there is 10 companies, so it's irrelevant of whether they know me. I'm
Yep.
going to go and knock on all of the 10 doors, and of
Wow.
course you get people in this day and age who don't like cold calling, and I absolutely understand that.
Mm,
But the way I look at it is, I'm selling you my service, and I am a person, and I want to build a relationship with you. And obviously, recruitment, if you don't need a new employee at that time, I'm irrelevant to them at that time. But if I can be in front of them and give them my information, then hopefully you make that impression that enough for them to go, oh, when they need obviously a new member of their team, that they will call you.
they'll
And
think
it
of you.
doesn't always work. Of course it doesn't. And they've got agencies that they work with, or they don't use agencies. But I'm very much a believer, and you need to put yourself out there. You need to take every opportunity that comes your way, and you need to work hard. And if that means sometimes doing long hours, then unfortunately that's what you have to do. But obviously you need to look after your well-being as well. But if you're working till 11 o'clock one night because you're at a meeting and a networking event, then it's okay not to be at work for 8 o'clock the next morning. But don't miss out on that opportunity, because that opportunity could be the next thing that opens up doors for you.
What would you say was kind of your successful formula?
Talking lots. No, in all honesty, I think it's being genuine, and being an expert in what you're doing, because the more knowledge you can gain, the more confident that you feel in what you're doing, it comes across. I can talk about recruitment through and through. I can talk about domestic abuse through and through. I've made myself an expert in both of those areas through further education, training. I was on a LinkedIn group last week around recruitment. It's changing. Why is it changing? I own a business, but I need to be at the forefront of all of these changes. And I think for me, education is key, and being adaptable to things as well. So not being set in your ways. And I do admit I am a bit of a tech phobe. All the other areas, yeah, but technology, I'm like, oh, what's that going to do? But I'm embracing it. I'm learning to look at the different things that are out there and then analyse, will it be beneficial for us? But I think, yeah, it's and keeping moving forward, just keeping that positive attitude, which we know is hard to do. And I'm human. I have moments where I think, wow, there's too much going on in my life right now. But being able to reevaluate and then again almost departmentalize those bits and then take on the smaller challenges. So that's where I would say, if anyone was listening, a big challenge like this can look really scary, but break that down even to 5 of the little things here and then work on each one. And then it doesn't seem so daunting.
Absolutely. Chunking. I call it chunking.
Chunking! I like that word. I'm going to use.
It sounds really, your philosophy sounds really similar to Ikigai. Have you heard of Ikigai?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's a Japanese philosophy. You should get the book on it. It's wonderful. But essentially, it comes from the 4 principles of it is you do something you love, something the world needs, something you can get paid for, and something you're good at, I think is the other one. And essentially you'll find your purpose via that. And it sounds like that's very similar to what you did, because you're clearly really passionate about the raising awareness of domestic abuse. You're very passionate about the relationships that you're building, the network that you're building, and that has paid dividends for you and allowed you to do the things that you've wanted to do to get those opportunities you talked about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You just have to keep making opportunities, taking opportunities, and helping other people as well. Like, you can't be selfish in life. If your life is going well, I personally believe it's really important to pass that knowledge off to others, and help people where they need it. Because I wouldn't have got to where I am without the support of other people. So, and being given opportunities. So if I've been given those opportunities, where can I help to give opportunities to other people? And that for me is something that's really important as well.
Do you feel like your approach to being completely equal in the way that you communicate to people has resulted in a positive outcome for you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I credit my parents, in all honesty, to the fact that I was brought up to treat people how I want to be treated. And I think
a good philosophy.
Yeah, and it's worked for me, and it really has. And I've taught my children the same thing, because it's so basic, yet it gets you so far. Like, why would you do and ask someone to do something that doesn't fit with your morals or your values? So I'm very much about working with people and building relationships with people, and even in recruitment, working with businesses that look after their employees, where well-being is important as well. So I do believe in life, you do need to kind of, and it does take time. I'm going to be 42 in a few weeks' time. But it's taken me a while to get to that point where I feel really confident to say, do you know what? I know what my values truly are. I know what's important to me. And by enabling that, I know what I want to achieve. and I know the kind of people I want around me as well, because there's a lot of humans on this planet, and there are ones that you just don't gel with, and that's fine. But you need to find the ones that believe in what you're doing, and also are your supporters as well, because you need people around you to keep you grounded as well.
What was it like in terms of like, because obviously you're building these relationships over time. It takes a lot of hard work to get to where you've got to now, as you
Yeah.
said. What about from like the financial point where, you need to invest some money into starting a business?
Yeah.
What advice would you give around that? And what was your experience?
So my personal experience was that I put my life savings into it. It was literally, I was obviously, when I first did it, I was 36, 37. So I still considered myself, as I do now, to be fairly young. And I thought, if this goes wrong, I still have time to do something different or do whatever. So it was almost, and again, because of my experience, it was kind of, it's now or never, I need to do this. So I put my life savings into it. I had a plan. I knew at what point I would have to almost walk away from it or look to borrow from external sources if it was going in the right direction. And I was just really, really careful with the pennies. In my office, as you came to, everything on there was off eBay. All of the furniture was off of eBay or off of Gumtree. It was all secondhand. The only thing that I brought new was a laptop because I needed it to work properly,
Yeah, cool.
and the phone because it needed to be a business phone that again worked well. But other than that, everything was secondhand. And even the second office we moved into, I brought secondhand furniture because it was, I don't need that. That's not important right now. It is about getting the money coming in. And like I say, when I went out and did cupcakes, it was one cupcake in a little plastic oval kind of thing that I took out because I couldn't afford to take 4 cupcakes out to every client that I didn't know was even going to convert. And of
Yeah.
course, if you look at it percentage wise, I would say out of all of the drops I did into clients in that first month, I probably converted about 5 or 10%, because it does take time. So that is looking at where your money is best spent. And some people would have said, stay behind the phone, Sharon, and just make the phone calls. It doesn't cost money. But if you know me the way that you know me as well as a recruiter, I'm very much about building those relationships. So if someone was looking to set up a business, you need to work out the way that you want that business to work right from day one and stand by those, and believe in those, but just be really cautious of your what you're spending, because of course we all want to go out and buy the fancy phone and the fancy filing cabinet, if you can call a filing cabinet fancy, rather than the second hand one. But it
Yeah.
is about building things up over time.
Yeah. So don't go into it kind of splash all your money
No.
on nice things.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get to that point where
Yeah, of course.
the office and the environment looks like the way you want it to.
Yeah, and cash flow as well, of course. People are on longer payment terms, and in recruitment, if you place someone in a permanent role, you don't invoice your client until the day they start, and then you've got to wait for your payment terms. So it's not something where, obviously every business is different, but if you go to a shop and you hand over your money because you're taking the product there and then, that money's coming in. Whereas for me, I knew I had a long cash flow pipeline as such. Had to make sure that the funds were there to cover that until I could get things up and running.
So really understanding the point
Yeah.
of expenditure to when you
Yeah.
get a return
Yeah.
was really a driver for how you spent your money, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And planned your business.
Yes,
And
very
it's
much.
turned out well.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm touching wood.
yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it has. But like I say, I've learned so much on my journey, and obviously, Kameo Recruitment is just over 5 years old. So if you look back at the start, and I get asked the question I get asked all the time is, if you knew now what you knew then what you know now with regards to what you would have gone through in the first 5 years of your business, would you have set up a business? Because obviously year one up until sort of 18 months, really, we were getting the business off the ground, and it was just starting to go in an amazing direction. Then COVID hit, and it was like, same as everyone else. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't in a position different to anyone else, but my business was still very young. So then I had to fight through COVID, and then we had Brexit, and now we're in a cost of living crisis, and obviously recruitment has slowed. A lot of companies are looking at their headcount, restructuring. So recruitment has slowed, and that, of course, is having an impact on us as a business. But the way I look at it is, if I can get through this, then hopefully the next 5 years will be a little bit easier. But would I change it? Obviously, I would change situations. Of course, I would, because the whole world has been through some awful situations. But would I change it the way I am now as a person? Probably not. No, because it's taught me so much about digging that extra bit deeper that I didn't even know I had when I need to, and managing people as well, because everyone had so many different challenges. It's almost like putting a different hat on for every single person I was speaking to. So yeah, been a tough learning curve, but a really good one.
So it's not easy, starting your own business and navigating through economical changes and socio-economical changes. But it's one that clearly you were really passionate about. And I think that's ultimately what kept you going, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no denial, even in myself, that what gets me through is my passion. And it is a genuine passion to help people. I have always thrived off of that. I've always, when I first went into recruitment, I was like, wow, I have found what I want to do, because you are effectively helping people. You're changing lives, people that have been made redundant. And there was one story, if you're happy for me to share with you, that really sticks in my mind for recruitment, was there was a gentleman that he had just recently got married, had a fairly young child, so his wife was on maternity leave, and he was in a fairly well-paid role. He was supporting the family, and he got made redundant. This was about 7-8 years ago now, when I worked for a different agency. And this man was desperate. He needed to pay his bills, and I helped him find a new job, went through the process with him, gave him the confidence, because, recruitment isn't just about putting a CV across. You're the support for that candidate as well. So nurtured the relationship, helped him with his interview prep and all of those things. And then he came in to see me the next day after his interview in the office, and wanted to have a coffee and a catch up. So that's absolutely fine. So we did that, and just as I popped out back to my desk just to get something, and I saw that there was an email from the client that he'd interviewed with the day before, and I thought, just going to open it. So I opened it, and they'd offered him the job, and I actually went into the meeting room, and I said to him, look, we can stop this chat really, because I've got some news, and you've been offered the job. This grown man was literally nearly in tears. He hugged me. Aww. And that moment, that's the difference you can make. Not every time, but that story will stick with me forever, because it's a genuine difference to somebody. So, yeah. And I think if you find your passion, whatever it is, whether it's helping people, whether it's inventing new products, whether it is, all the different odd jobs or businesses that are out there, if you find your passion, it's your passion that will get you through.
One of the things that concerns me, that I see in the media all the time, is get rich quick schemes, and money being the primary driver. And I think that that's not always the best route to go down, because once you encounter challenges similar to what you've encountered, you become too disheartened to carry on. So you've got to be into something for the long run to really be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we all go to work because we want to earn money. We need to earn money because we've got bills to pay, and we all have dreams that we want to achieve in life, and that's fine. I don't measure my success financially. I measure it on the difference that I've made.
That's amazing.
And for me, people say, really? Are you telling the truth? Yeah, I am. I really am. Because for me, it is about helping others. And of course, along that journey, if I can make money, then that's great. But that is not my driver. And that does make me unique compared to other business owners. Not everyone, because there's a lot of people like me that do it for different reasons. But that is my motivation. And you're right. If it was just about money, when you see that profit drop in, or when you see that things aren't going your way, or you're in a loss this month or this quarter, what would get you through? Because you'd be like, well, I'm not making money, so I'm going to move on to my next big thing and try again. Yeah. Whereas if you're in it because you genuinely care and it's something that you're passionate about, it is that passion. And like I say, at the moment, we are fighting through the same as many recruitment companies, and we're trying different tactics, we're doing different things. And where does that come from? It's passion. And it's a case of going, I believe in this, I believe in my businesses, I believe in what I'm doing. So yeah, and life isn't ever going to be easy all the time, is it? So
Yeah.
you have to ride those waves, as I say, and but as long as you're paddling on top of the wave, you'll keep going forwards. That's so important. I don't want to be in the sea at the bottom. I want to still be moving forwards. Absolutely.
Definitely. What's happening in the world of recruitment right now? Because I hear things like the recruitment pool's really struggling. There's not many people out there that are qualified. Companies are finding it really hard to pick people. They're also cutting down. Are these rumors true that I'm hearing? And
Yeah, I think it depends on the sector, in all honesty, and
okay,
obviously there are some sectors that are still doing extremely well. It depends on where companies are in their process. So if they've got funding that has enabled them, they've got funding for the next 5 years, they're sitting in a position where they've got the money there and the funding there. So their recruitment is very different to somebody that's coming to the end of their funding run, for example, and they're going, we can't get funding for our next project. So then it's those challenges. For the candidate market, I think a lot of people have potentially stayed put in jobs because of the uncertainty. They almost think, I don't want to go somewhere else because first in, last in, first out kind of mentality. So I think there's a lot of, I suppose it's the uncertainty, isn't it? If you're in a job, your job's paying your bills. Don't really like it anymore, but it's paying your bills and you've been there a while when it's stable. Would you leave? Of course, some people are, and that's why recruitment is still moving forwards, thank goodness. But there are a lot of people that will stay put for that bit longer. So that's the challenge, I think, on the candidate side. There are some really good candidates out there, but it's sometimes a bit like finding a needle in a haystack.
yeah, of course.
So that is a challenge. And
Don't
I think
you think that has? Sorry, Sharon. Don't you think that has almost an opportunity written all over it? Because I'm thinking, if I know I'm a good candidate,
yeah.
and I know not many people are applying for jobs, then this might actually be a really good time to start looking.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you're
Yeah.
a good candidate and you're out there and you're looking, then yeah, it does give you a better chance, shall we say, potentially of getting that dream job. But then obviously from the other side of it, I do understand that it might not be the right time for everyone, but if it is, then yeah, absolutely go for it. I think on the other side of things for businesses as well, they are in tricky positions because obviously salaries are being pushed up because of the economic crisis, and a lot of smaller businesses can't compete
Can't
with
afford
the
it.
larger businesses.
Yep.
Or there are businesses that I know. I was on a Zoom call with the Bank of England last month, and it was small business owners or different business owners on there just giving their input. And it became really apparent that quite a few smaller businesses last year increased their salaries for all their staff because they were being pushed to, but now those smaller businesses can't sustain it because they're not making as much money this year, so they're now making redundancies. So at the time, for the people, the employees, they were like, yay, we've got a 10% pay rise, this is great. But now the economy is still struggling, we know that, and with people trying to pull through, of course they are. But those businesses are now saying we cannot sustain these 10 people on that 10% pay rise, so we need to lose one person because we can't put that pay down. So one of our staff's got to be made redundant. So then you've got someone going into the world without a job. So it's a really tricky situation. And there is no right or wrong. You know, I can't sit here and preach what businesses should do because, you know, I do what I feel is best for me in my business. But it is a scary time for people, and there is a lot more people being made redundant at the moment, unfortunately.
Would you say, and this is like kind of a little bit of my own opinion,
Okay.
what I'd like to see, and the company that I work for at the moment is really amazing. Actually, they take care of like mental health really well. They invest in their people really well. So this isn't this isn't talking about my current company. Otherwise, we wouldn't be working with them.
Yeah.
But what I would like to see more companies doing is instead of trying to almost the get rich quick scheme we were just talking about is like, okay, throwing money at a few key people
Yeah.
isn't a long-term strategy or even vision, right? So what I think I'd want to experience as an employee at a struggling business is the personal touch, and actually them reaching out to me and saying, we would love to give all of our employees a pay rise, but right now things suck, and we would really appreciate you kind of holding on with us, sailing through this storm together, and putting in the hard work that you can, and hopefully we'll be at a turning point in the future where we can reward you for doing so. What are your thoughts around that?
No, absolutely. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
As a small business owner myself, I can't afford to give everyone a huge pay rise at the moment. We're getting through it, of course, but I have to, as I said at the start, I'm very careful with my money and expenditure. So we do, I try and show my appreciation for my employees, even to the point where this week I brought in brownies. I brought some brownies off a friend because I can't cook. So I paid her to make some brownies, which was money in her pocket as well, which is good. And then I brought them in and the team were able to have a brownie each. Now, it's a brownie, but they were also grateful. They were like, "Oh, great! This is really kind of you. Thank you." We celebrate the small wins. We celebrate everyone's birthday here. Where we can, we go for lunch together and we have incentives and things like that. So it's just keeping everyone motivated. And I think you need to be honest with people and say, look, the whole world is struggling in one way or another. Everyone's electric's gone up. You can't deny that. Interest rates are going up. So if businesses have got borrowing, then that obviously that has an impact. But on top of that, all of the insurances and things that go with businesses are going up as well. So, and then corporation tax. So you're kind of being stung from every angle at the moment. So it's about being transparent with your team and saying, this is the position we're in, like you say. This is what it looks like. This is our plan to get through it. We're doing it together, get that collaboration. And we've actually got a success board in our office now that funnily enough, I put it up a week and a half ago because I was like, okay, the successes aren't necessarily as big as they used to be because the world has changed a little bit. But a success to me is still a success. So if someone
100%.
goes out and drops off some information and then gets a meeting with a client, that's a success. Let's put it on the board. Let's shout
100%.
about that. So it's those small things that before we might be celebrating someone placed 3 people in a week. Brilliant. Now we're celebrating, of course, we'll celebrate that as well, and it does happen, but the smaller wins as well. So I think it is very much about working with your individual staff as well. And is there anything that you can do to support them that doesn't cost money that potentially will help them as well?
That's so smart. I love that kind of assessment of like the relativity of success depending on the economical climate. It makes so much sense because all major business players will tell you that you need to be able to adapt to the business environment to be successful, right? To do well. If you're not adaptable, then you'll fail. And this is definitely true. We've seen this across history for decades. So I love that your success board is now about getting those meetings and starting to build those relationships.
Completely different. But it also makes it achievable. It makes it achievable as well for my my colleagues, because setting them challenges, because I call them challenges as well, because I like a little challenge in life, that aren't achievable will demotivate them so quickly. So, even 100%. With, as I said to you before, we've got two newbies that have joined the team, which is really exciting, that have just come straight from sixth form. And their motivational challenges will be very different to an experienced consultant coming in here. For example, I'm in the office with them tomorrow. One of them has been with us for a month. The other one, it's their first week this week. So I've come in this morning. I said, right, the challenge for you tomorrow is to do some candidate calls. We're going to bring some candidates, see what they're looking for, ask those questions, build your confidence up, but build your candidate pool that are people that are looking. We're going to do that tomorrow morning. And then at lunchtime, I'm going to take them to the local pub for a sandwich and a pint of Coke, hopefully. They won't be on the alcohol. So, just that little thing for me, it is going to, of course it's going to cost money. But, we're talking a small amount of money that is sharing and celebrating their success, because they're not going to be high flying consultants straight away, but you need to keep that motivation going. And by doing that, they'll come in fresh next week with another week to challenge and kind of move forward. And it's those little things that, to me, I personally feel make a huge difference, because I'm giving my time to go with them, to sit with them. I want to get to know my newest recruit in more detail. I want to know what he's doing at the weekend and stuff like that, because we are a small team. So building that relationship is really important as well.
Definitely. So Sharon's policy is something I really, really want to talk to you about, because you essentially created a policy that is saving lives, essentially. Can you talk a little bit about what this is? I mean, it is around domestic abuse. How did it all start for you, and where is it at the moment?
Okay, so my domestic abuse journey, as we said, it started under the Kameo recruitment banner, and I started putting on seminars and educating businesses. So when I say educating businesses, it was very much talking about what is domestic abuse, what are the forms of abuse, the signs to spot in the workplace, how to recognise someone, respond, and refer them to the right people that have got the expertise in those areas. Sharon's policy was the next step. So as you can imagine, I was educating businesses and they were like, this is great. We feel like we know so much more. We feel equipped to start that conversation, etc. However, what do we do next? And I was like, well, you need a policy. We all know in businesses, policies have to be in place to enable the whole workforce to know what they're entitled to, and also the managers to know what they can give to their support to their employees. But policies cost money, right? So it was a case of going, okay, well, this is a stumbling block, because especially during COVID, when I was doing more of this, people were like, we don't have money for that, Sharon. And I was like, but that can't be your reason not to do this. And it was. So I went, right, okay, let me collaborate with people that I know who've got expertise in slightly different areas around domestic abuse. So I was an ambassador for the Employers Initiative on Domestic Abuse, the Domestic Abuse Alliance, and then HR department, who are consultants across the UK in HR. So we came together and created Sharon's policy. I do giggle every time I say that, because I'm like, I'm Sharon. It's one of those. I was like, can we name it something else? And they were like, no, we'll name it after you, which is amazing. But basically what we created was a document, which is two documents. So you have the legal policy wording, which like I say, it's the legal jargon. It's your document that goes in to say we've got a domestic abuse policy. And then alongside that, we have guidance notes. And the guidance notes are really important because they can be adapted by any business in any sector and any business of any size. So, for example, it talks about things that you can do in the workplace. Now, every business, if someone comes forward and says they're being abused, can take the perpetrator off as the next of kin on their records in HR. That doesn't cost money. So everyone can do that. That's a safety thing. That's a really good thing to do. Mm. Big businesses, however, have flee funds. So they have money aside. If someone comes forward, they can give them £5,000 to help them flee a situation. But not every business can do that. So the way that it works so well is that each individual business goes through the guidance notes and looks at what they can do and puts their own policy in place. So it's a template policy. It's not aimed to be picked up and popped into someone's filing cabinet. It's a usable policy as well.
That's great.
Policies are only as good as they are if they're used, and that's something I'm really passionate about as well. You can't just take the policy, well, you can, and just go, we've got the policy. No, you need to work with that policy. So it has changed lives. It's there is many businesses that have used it. So King's College in Cambridge, obviously education, they use Sharon's policy as a template. Channel 4, RSA Insurance as well. They've got 5,000 employees across the UK, and there's lots of others I could name. But it is changing. It's changing things, which is what I wanted. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue using the policy to help people.
That's so good. So you essentially can help businesses take care of their people from a domestic abuse perspective.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
to be honest with you, I didn't even know there were signs. So I might have seen them and not even really recognized them.
But that's normal. You wouldn't unless you had the education that I give, because it is those signs. And the signs that I can just give you a couple of examples now. So the signs that I showed in the workplace was if my then husband, my perpetrator, would call... would come into the workplace. He used to turn up and bring biscuits and things. So it was a case of everyone in the workplace thought, oh, this man's lovely. He's coming in because he's lovely and he's passing and he's bringing biscuits. What he was doing was making sure that I was in the workplace and just almost asserting his authority over that to say, I can still control you while you're at work. But to others, of course, it looked lovely, but he used to do it all the time. So if you were educated, you'd be like, okay, maybe once someone popping by and being like, hi guys, because we were a small team, I brought you some biscuits, I was just passing. But to do it all the time, a little bit sus. And other things in my behaviour. So obviously I love talking. I'm a recruitment consultant. And if I was on the phone during the middle of the day, I would have conversations with my clients about what they've been doing at the weekend, etc. And I wouldn't have the urge to get off the phone. If someone called my phone at 5:25 when I was finishing at 5:30, because I had to be home on time, I would panic. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. I'll call you back tomorrow. And I'd literally scribble and I'd be shaking and, like this, because I needed to get out. Because if I was 5 minutes late home, I had to explain where I'd been. So if you were trained and you were sitting next to me, you would go, hold on a minute, why are you so worried about leaving? Like, you're actually acting completely different to what you do in the day. And that's just two things. I mean, when I do my education and training,
there's plenty,
we talk through so many signs that people will show you.
That's really interesting. And was this kind of a regular occurrence for you? So, you would often be seen trying to rush out of the office.
Yeah, rush out of the office. He used to call the work phone as well and scream all sorts of names down my phone. But obviously I'd be sitting there. And again, another thing that I used to do was just, because someone's obviously swearing and shouting at you down the phone, I would just, well, how do you respond? So obviously I just go, yes, 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 about 50 times. You don't have a conversation with someone on the phone just saying yes, do you? So if someone was educated, they would have gone, hold on, well, what was that person saying to you? Because why were you just saying yes back? And then he'd slam the phone down and I'd say, oh yeah, no problem, I'll see you when I get home. Bye.
Bless you.
But again, that's, that was my reality. And that's why I do what I do, because when I'm educating, I use my own experience. I talk openly about my own experience, because I do believe it's important for people that are being educated to almost understand how far people go and understand that it does happen. And, and the more we talk about it, the more we educate ourselves as businesses, the more we'll spot signs and the more we'll be able to help people.
That's amazing, Sharon. I could feel it. It was, I think it's such a wonderful thing that you're doing. And it's no surprise to me that there are, very big organizations that want to work with you, because it seems like something that it makes perfect sense to have in place, but you almost don't think of it until you need it. It's kind of like a fire engine.
Yeah, no, and I think that is the thing. Obviously I started it under the Kameo recruitment banner and it's just grown. So we set it up as its own business, as domestic abuse education, because I needed to have a name over it, because people were getting, the lines were getting blurred, shall we say. People were like, well, you're Kameo recruitment, so how are you doing domestic abuse education as well? And then I was like, oh, this is a name for the business, domestic abuse education. And it just came from there. And I think now having them separate, it does really make it more viable. And obviously, since having it separate, we've got the course that I would deliver, CPD accredited as well, which has made a huge difference. And it's something, to be fair, I'm very proud of, because it means that anyone who comes on the course knows it's been accredited, knows that they will get a certificate, they'll get their CPD points for further development as well. So if there's a business, then it's almost a win-win, because their workforce are getting trained, they're getting further education, but they're also going to save people's lives potentially, or definitely make people's lives better.
Amazing. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Big question I've got for you.
Yeah.
Who helped you and who have you helped?
Wow. Okay. So in terms of who's helped me on my journey, there are so many people I could name. My finance director, Lydia, here, she's been with me since day one. And I remember sitting in her kitchen. And I'd only just met her. She just got put in contact with me and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I really need to. And she encouraged me to do it, and has been by my side ever since. All of my team, to be fair, they do support me with both the businesses, in the fact that obviously Kameo Recruitment doesn't run itself. So when I'm doing the domestic abuse side, they have to kind of, get on with things. My now husband, so fortunately I'm happily married, and he, yay! But he, it is important to have people around you, and he truly believes in what I do, and he has to do a lot at home, because obviously I do work long hours, I do presentations in different parts of the country, and I need to be available for those. And then I think my biggest driver for all this is my children. My three amazing children that my oldest two have went through the domestic abuse with me, and I almost felt that I needed to do it for them as well. And actually, my son is a White Ribbon ambassador, so stands up for gender rights for women, and my daughter is an Ask Me ambassador for Women's Aid. So between us, we all kind of campaign in our own little areas. But in terms of people that I've helped, I know I've helped many survivors, or at the time they were victims. They're now survivors of abuse. One of them actually gave me a quote that I give in part of my CPD accreditation, just to say the difference that it made. So directly, I know there is quite a few survivors that have said, Sharon, you empowered me to do what I'm doing now. And, for me, that's amazing, absolutely amazing. But there will be other people that off the back of the policy that I don't know about have been supported. And then I think at the moment, being able to give 2 young people an opportunity in recruitment, for me, I am loving it. I'm absolutely loving watching these 2 young people that have come in with, in all honesty, limited work experience from part-time jobs, straight from A-levels, into a full-time job where they're having to build those relationships with, with big clients, small clients, and watching them flourish already. I feel so proud to see it. So yeah, I think for me, that's the biggest reward, is helping people.
Amazing. And where are you headed next? What's next for you?
Who knows, Chris? So on the recruitment side, obviously, like I say, we've got 2 newbies in. So our plan is to get them up to speed and get them up and running. And then in the future, ideally, I'd like to bring in more people that are fresh from education, because it's really working. They're so absorbent of the information, because we do have a really strong structure of senior people here. So that's the way we'll look to grow it, is from kind of like the bottom up, giving these 2 the opportunity to take a step up as well with their career. On the domestic abuse side, I have got some big presentations coming up, some of which I can't divulge at the moment. Okay. But one of the ones that I'm really excited to do is with Cambridge United Football Club. I am with them in September. They're doing the CPD training, which is going to be really, really good, because hopefully off the back of that, they've got a lot of businesses in their network. They've got people that come to the football as well. So I'm really keen to partner with them if I can, in ways that I can, really, just to reach more of an audience. But yeah, and then obviously I've got the awards night on the 28th of September. But to be a finalist is honestly, it blew me away. Really, really humble to get to the finals against some incredible people. But I'm just looking
3
forward.
Awards.
Yeah, for 3 awards. But I'm just looking forward to going and getting glammed up a bit, to be honest, Grace. I'm like, I've got the hairdresser booked in and I've got the dress. So I think for me, it's a really humbling experience, especially, domestic abuse education to be new business of the year, when we are, obviously I know it is a new business, so we're in the right category, but I never thought that it would be recognised. And so that really, really touched my heart personally. And I was like, wow. So I'm super excited just to be part of the event, really. And have a few drinks, eat some nice food, and see where it goes. But like I say, I'm just so proud to have got to the final. So what will be, will be. But yeah, lots of exciting things.
Definitely. If someone wants to kind of contact you and find out more about you, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, so can I give 2 email addresses? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So if it's recruitment related, it's Sharon at kameorecruitment.com, and Kameo is Kameo. And then if it's domestic abuse related, then it's Sharon at domesticabuseeducation.co.uk. Alternatively, you can call me on 01223 608 244, and that is my number for anything that people want to speak about.
Okay, great. Sharon, it's been absolutely lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. No, thank you for having me. It's been brilliant.
You're welcome. Speak to you soon, Sharon.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Take care.